Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be exploring how Islamic science got into Europe,
Oh, fascinating.
thanks to Al-Andalus.
Yeah.
So think of it as this intellectual bridge connecting two different worlds.
It really challenges the way we usually think about the history of science.
Right.
Like, we tend to think of it as this straight line of progress.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's much more intricate and complex.
Yeah.
With all these ideas kind of like flowing back and forth across different cultures.
Exactly. And our guide for this journey is going to be Julio Samso's paper,
Okay.
Al-Andalus, a bridge between Arabic and European science.
Hmm.
And it really digs into the nitty-gritty of how this transfer happened,
Okay.
what kinds of knowledge were shared,
Uh-huh.
and sometimes why it didn't happen at all.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You know what I find most intriguing about this whole story
Go on.
is that it's not just about the texts themselves,
Right.
but it's about the people involved, like the historical context,
Yeah.
even the role of chance.
It's like a detective story almost.
Totally.
Uncovering these lost connections,
Yeah.
figuring out why certain ideas took root and others faded away.
Absolutely.
And get this, we're even going to find out why some big names in Islamic science never even made it into Latin.
It's true.
Yeah.
You can think about it this way. Like if you were to look at someone's bookshelf, you can learn a lot about their influences and their interests.
Right.
So in the same way, we can examine the texts that were translated
Okay.
in Al-Andalus and from that glean insights into the intellectual climate of the time.
That's really neat.
Yeah, and the priorities of those who were kind of like pushing this whole transfer of knowledge thing.
I'm hooked already.
Great.
Where do we even begin with all of this?
Well, Samso starts us off by taking us back to 10th century Catalonia,
Okay.
specifically around Barcelona.
All right.
And during this period, there was this burst of activity, but it was focused mainly on astronomical instruments.
Oh, wow.
So we're talking astrolabes, sundials, quadrants,
Okay.
the tools of the trade for astronomers.
So it was more about the practical application
Actually-
than like the deep theoretical stuff.
Yeah, definitely more practical.
That makes sense.
Just imagine scholars kind of huddled around these Arabic astrolabes, trying to decipher their workings,
Well,
taking detailed notes.
that's such a great visual.
I know, right?
I can practically hear them like scribbling away.
Yeah, totally.
But here's where I get puzzled.
Okay.
This early buzz seems to just like fizzle out in the 11th century.
That's a really good point.
Why would that be? It's not like they just suddenly lost interest in the stars.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a great question, and it actually leads us to two really crucial factors that Samso highlights:
Okay.
libraries and patronage.
So it's about access to the information
Yeah.
and the resources to translate it.
Absolutely. So without access to major Islamic libraries, the scholars they didn't have the raw materials to work with.
Right.
And then equally important is patronage,
Yeah.
because translation takes time.
Yeah, for sure.
It takes support.
Right.
Without someone funding their work, how are those translators going to make a living,
Of course.
let alone actually dedicate themselves to this massive undertaking?
It's like trying to bake a cake without ingredients or an oven.
Yeah,
No matter how skilled you are, you can't create something out of nothing.
that's a perfect analogy.
Thanks.
But don't worry, the story doesn't end there.
Oh, good.
Things take a dramatic turn in the late 11th century with a very pivotal event,
Okay.
the Christian conquest of Toledo in 1085.
Why was Toledo so important?
Well, it was more than just a strategic city.
Okay.
Toledo was this intellectual hub, this melting pot of cultures and ideas.
Okay.
And it housed these vast libraries filled with texts on a wide range of subjects.
Wow. So when the Christians conquered Toledo, it's like they stumbled upon a treasure trove of knowledge.
Exactly. And almost immediately after the conquest,
Yeah.
we see this huge surge in translation activity.
Wow.
It's as if those missing libraries suddenly became available.
Like a whole new world opened up.
Exactly. Opening up a whole new world of learning for European scholars.
Talk about being in the right place at the right time.
Right.
I bet they were overwhelmed by the sheer volume of material.
Yeah, I bet.
Did they try to translate everything?
Well, that's where Samso's detective work gets really interesting.
Okay.
Because he noticed this curious pattern.
Oh.
Most of the Eastern or Mashriq texts that were translated, they were from before about 950 AD.
Okay.
After that date, the majority of translated texts were from Al-Andalus itself.
That's really specific.
I know.
Like, it makes you wonder if something happened around 950 that shifted the flow of knowledge.
You're on the right track.
Oh.
Samso suggests that this pattern is connected to the fall of the Caliphate of Córdoba, which was a major power in Al-Andalus
Right.
around that time.
So it wasn't just about access to libraries in general, but about which libraries were accessible.
Precisely. So after the Caliphate fell, Al-Andalus became more intellectually connected to North Africa,
Okay.
what's known as the Maghrib.
I see.
So the types of texts that were available for translation reflected this shift.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like this reminder
Right.
that the transmission of knowledge is often shaped by political and historical events.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about the people who were actually doing the translating.
Yeah. Of course.
They weren't just robots copying words.
Right.
They had their own expertise, their own biases, and maybe even their own agendas.
Yeah. That's a crucial point.
It is. And it brings us to this often overlooked role of patronage.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like, who were these people funding the translations? What motivated them?
So it wasn't just this neutral process of, like, just transferring knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
It was driven by individuals with their own interests and goals.
Exactly. And Samso actually traces this influence of patronage all the way back to those early translations we talked about.
Yeah.
In 10th century Catalonia.
Okay.
And we see these church figures like Bishop Miro Baumfeld
Okay.
supporting translations of astrological texts.
Why would a bishop be interested in astrology?
Well, you know, we often think of astrology and religion
Right.
as being at odds with each other.
Yeah.
But maybe it wasn't so clear-cut back then.
Yeah, that's true.
And, you know, in the case of these early translations, there seems to have been a genuine interest in trying to understand the cosmos.
Okay.
Even if it was through this lens of astrology.
It makes sense.
It makes you wonder what other assumptions we might be making about the past that might not hold up under closer scrutiny.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But let's fast forward a little bit to Toledo.
All right.
Who are the big patrons there. Well, in Toledo, the archbishops emerge. As major patrons, they often employed translators within the church itself.
Oh, wow.
And their interests seem to have been broader.
Okay.
Encompassing not just astrology, but also medicine, philosophy, and mathematics.
That's a pretty diverse portfolio.
It is, but they weren't the only ones.
Now I'm really curious.
Okay.
Who else was playing a role in this, like, grand translation project?
Well, this is where we encounter one of the most intriguing figures in this whole story.
Oh, who's that?
King Alfonso X of Castile.
Oh, yeah.
Who ruled in the 13th century.
Okay.
This guy takes patronage to a whole new level.
He was known as the royal scholar.
Exactly. He was known as the royal scholar.
Yeah.
And his passion for knowledge led him to sponsor this massive translation project.
So Alfonso was like a medieval Elon Musk.
I like that.
Instead of launching rockets, he's launching this quest for knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he had some, like, specific interests, though, right?
He certainly did. But before we get into his, like, reading list, there's one crucial detail about Alfonso's patronage that really sets him apart.
Okay.
His translations were done into Castilian.
Wait, not Latin.
Nope.
That's really unusual.
It is.
Why would he choose the vernacular language over the language of scholarship?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
It really speaks volumes about Alfonso's vision. It suggests he wanted to make knowledge accessible to a much wider audience.
Yeah.
Not just the elite who could read Latin.
That's a pretty radical idea.
It is.
For the 13th century.
Yeah, it's almost like he was trying to, like, democratize knowledge.
Oh, wow.
But let's get to the good stuff.
Okay.
What were some of the texts that caught Alfonso's eye?
Yeah.
Well, it seems that Alfonso had a thing for the stars.
Oh, of course, the royal scholar.
Yeah, but his interests extended beyond just the practical applications of astronomy.
Okay.
He was fascinated by astrology. And get this, even magic.
Now, that's what I call a diverse portfolio.
Right.
So we're talking star catalogs? Yeah.
Horoscopes, and maybe even some spell books.
Could be.
This is getting good. We've got to dive into all of this in more detail.
I agree.
But let's save that for part 2 of our deep dive.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Great. See you in part 2.
See you then.
Where we'll uncover the mysteries of Alfonso's court.
It's going to be great.
And explore the world of medieval astronomy.
Can't wait.
Astrology, and maybe even a touch of magic.
I love it.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Al-Andalus as this bridge of knowledge between the Islamic world and medieval Europe. Last time, we left off with King Alfonso X of Castile and his ambitious project to translate texts into Castilian, including those dealing with astrology and magic.
Yeah, Alfonso's court was a really fascinating mix of individuals.
Right.
It was a testament to his vision of fostering knowledge from all these diverse sources.
From what I understand, Samso describes a real melting pot of scholars working on these translations.
Oh, absolutely. Alfonso's court included Jewish scholars, Muslim converts to Christianity,
Spanish Christians, and even some Italians.
It's incredible that amidst the backdrop of the Reconquista, there was still this space for collaboration and knowledge exchange.
It speaks to the power of intellectual curiosity, you know, and Alfonso's recognition that, diverse perspectives are valuable.
Among those scholars, it seems that the Jewish contributors were particularly prolific.
Yeah.
Samso points to figures like Yehuda ben Moshe and Isaac ibn Sid, who went by the name Rabisag.
Okay.
And each of them worked on numerous texts.
Their expertise was highly valued. It really highlights how knowledge transcended, religious boundaries.
Even in a time of conflict.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about some of the actual texts produced under Alfonso's patronage.
Okay, sure.
The Libros de Saber Astronomía.
Yeah.
Sounds like something straight out of, a fantasy novel.
It's quite a remarkable collection.
Yeah.
Think of it as this comprehensive guide to, medieval astronomy.
Okay.
It covers everything from, descriptions of the cosmos to practical instructions for using astronomical instruments.
I'm picturing these beautiful hand-drawn illustrations of constellations and, celestial spheres.
You're not far off.
Oh, cool.
One of the key texts within the Libros del Saber is this adaptation of Al-Sufi's famous star catalog.
Oh, okay.
It's called the Libros de la Ochava Espera,
Okay.
or Book of the Fixed Stars.
Okay.
And it not only, beautifully maps out the constellations,
Right.
but it also incorporates astrological interpretations.
Which makes sense, considering Alfonso's interest in astrology.
Exactly. For Alfonso and his court, the stars held this, deep astrological significance. They believed that the stars could reveal a person's fate, predict events,
Wow.
even guide decisions.
It makes you realize how differently people viewed the cosmos back then.
Right.
It wasn't just a scientific marvel.
Yeah.
It was a source of meaning and guidance.
Absolutely.
It was intertwined with their understanding of, the divine.
You've hit upon a really crucial point.
Yeah.
The boundaries between science, religion, and magic,
Right.
they were so much more fluid in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
What we might categorize as separate domains today.
Right.
They saw all of these things as, interconnected parts of a larger whole.
Okay, so Alfonso's interest in astrology isn't all that surprising,
No, not at all.
considering the intellectual climate of his time.
Precisely. And his patronage actually extended beyond just star catalogs.
Oh, okay.
The Libros del Saber also includes treatises on astronomical instruments.
Oh, wow.
So think armillary spheres, astrolabes,
Okay.
even the intricate mechanisms of clocks.
It sounds like a medieval workshop filled with all these cool gadgets.
I know, right?
Were these instruments mainly used for, astronomical observations?
Well, they were essential tools for astronomers.
Mm-hmm.
They also played a crucial role in the practice of astrology. So, for example, you could use an astrolabe to determine the position of the stars and planets
Okay.
at a specific time, which was essential for casting horoscopes.
Can you imagine trying to figure out your astrological chart without a computer?
Right.
Or even a calculator?
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
It really highlights the, ingenuity and sophistication of these medieval instruments.
Yeah.
They were the high-tech tools of their day.
I like that.
Yeah.
Samso also mentioned the equatorium. What was that used for?
Oh, the equatorium.
Yeah.
It was this ingenious device that essentially, modeled the Ptolemaic system,
Yeah.
which was the prevailing theory of the cosmos at the time.
Okay.
So think of it as a mechanical representation of the universe.
Okay.
You could use it to calculate planetary positions
Oh, wow.
with remarkable accuracy.
That's amazing. So it was like a mini planetarium.
Exactly.
So Alfonso's team didn't just translate existing texts.
Right.
They also provided instructions for building these instruments.
That's right. And whenever possible, they relied on Arabic sources.
Okay.
But in some cases, they even wrote original treatises
Wow.
if they couldn't find a suitable source.
That's incredible.
It speaks to their, impressive level of expertise.
Right.
And the dedication they had to this project.
Yeah. Talk about a dream team of scholars and craftsmen.
I know, right?
It sounds like Alfonso spared no expense in pursuing his passion for knowledge.
It seems that way.
But wait, we talked about the Alphonsine tables earlier?
Yeah.
Weren't those astronomical tables kind of unique?
You have a sharp memory.
Yeah.
The Alphonsine tables were indeed unusual.
Cool.
They calculated tropical longitudes,
Mm-hmm.
which differed from the sidereal system,
Right.
which was more common in Al-Andalus.
Now, for those of us who aren't astronomers, could you
Yeah.
break down what that actually means?
Sure. So imagine you're looking at a star in the night sky.
Okay.
Its sidereal longitude is its position
Yeah.
relative to the fixed stars,
Mhm.
but its tropical longitude
Okay.
measures its position relative to the vernal equinox,
Okay.
which is the point where the sun crosses the celestial equator.
I see.
It's a more complex system, but it was crucial for accurate astronomical calculations.
So Alfonso's team wasn't just like blindly copying what they found in Arabic texts. They
Yeah.
were incorporating different astronomical traditions and
Yeah.
making their own adjustments.
Exactly. They were engaging in this sophisticated process of synthesis and innovation,
Wow.
really pushing the boundaries of astronomical knowledge.
But let's not forget Alfonso's other fascination,
Oh.
the one that might raise a few eyebrows. Magic. We touched upon the Picatrix earlier.
Uh-huh.
What exactly is this book?
Well, the Picatrix is a fascinating and, somewhat controversial text.
Okay.
It's essentially a compendium of magical knowledge,
Hmm.
and it draws on a wide range of sources like Hermetic, astrological,
Oh.
even Islamic traditions.
Oh, wow.
It covers everything from talismans and incantations
Uh-huh.
to the properties of plants and minerals.
It sounds like something you'd find in a secret library guarded by like a wise old wizard.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's definitely a sense of mystery surrounding it.
Right.
But it was more than just like a collection of spells.
Okay.
The Picatrix actually attempted to systematize magical practices
Mm.
and connect them to the movements of the stars and planets.
Oh, okay.
It was seen as a way to harness the power of the cosmos
Right.
for like personal and spiritual transformation.
But wasn't magic a bit taboo in the church at the time?
Well, it's important to remember that attitudes towards magic were pretty complex
Okay.
in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
So while the church definitely condemned certain types of magic,
Right.
especially those associated with like demonic forces,
Yeah, that makes sense.
there was also this tradition of natural magic
Okay.
that was seen as compatible with Christian beliefs.
Ah, interesting.
So it wasn't magic itself that was the problem,
Yeah,
but the source of its power and how it was used.
that makes sense.
And Alfonso's interest seems to have fallen more on this side of like natural magic.
Okay.
It was about understanding and utilizing the powers of the natural world for like specific purposes.
This reminds me of something else Samso mentioned, lapidaries.
Oh, yeah?
Those were books about like the magical properties of stones.
Oh,
right?
shit. Alfonso's court actually produced several lapidaries,
Wow.
meticulously cataloging different gemstones
Hmm.
and their alleged magical powers,
So like a medieval guide to crystal healing.
pretty much.
That's cool. It seems like Alfonso was on this quest to create a comprehensive library of knowledge,
It does, doesn't it?
encompassing both the scientific and the esoteric. And he wasn't afraid to like blur the lines between those different domains.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder what other surprises he might have had tucked away in his royal library.
It really does.
Yeah.
But his intellectual curiosity didn't stop with astronomy, astrology, and magic.
No, it didn't.
Samso also points to Alfonso's interest in a very different kind of text, Ibn al-Haytham's cosmology.
That's a good one.
Okay, now that's a name I recognize. Ibn al-Haytham is a giant in the history of science.
Oh, absolutely.
He's known for his work on optics and the scientific method.
He was way ahead of his time.
But what is his cosmology all about?
Well, it's this fascinating treatise
Yeah.
that explores the structure of the universe,
Okay.
but from like a more philosophical and theoretical perspective.
Oh, interesting.
So it delves into questions about the nature of space, time,
Okay.
the celestial spheres.
Mm.
It draws on both Aristotelian and Ptolemaic ideas.
Wow.
And it offers this sophisticated analysis of the like prevailing cosmological theories.
So it's a step away from the practical applications of astronomy
Right.
and more into the realm of abstract thought.
Precisely.
Ah,
It's almost like Alfonso wanted to like balance his interest in practical astrology and magic with this deeper understanding of the underlying cosmological principles.
okay.
He wasn't content with just knowing how to use the tools.
Yeah.
He wanted to really grasp the fundamental concepts.
It shows real intellectual hunger.
It does.
Like, he's not just dabbling in these different subjects. He's actively seeking out, like, diverse perspectives to gain this more comprehensive understanding of the universe.
Absolutely. And here's another interesting detail.
Go on.
Ibn al-Haytham's cosmology wasn't as widely known in Europe at the time as some of his other works.
So Alfonso was seeking out less common texts.
It seems so. It suggests that he was actively searching for a wide range of viewpoints.
Yeah.
And wasn't content with, like, just the standard canon of knowledge.
He was like a medieval intellectual trendsetter.
Love that.
Always on the lookout for the next big idea. But it makes you wonder if even a court as focused on astrology and magic as Alfonso's had room for a text like Ibn al-Haytham's cosmology.
Right.
What else might have been circulating in those intellectual circles?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
And it leads us to some of Samso's final thoughts on Al-Andalus and its legacy.
Okay.
But before we wrap up our deep dive, there's one more intriguing detail to uncover.
Oh, I like intriguing details.
It seems Alfonso's fascination with knowledge extended beyond the realm of the stars and the cosmos.
Okay.
He also commissioned the translation of a text that delved into the secrets of the human body.
Now that piques my curiosity. We've explored the heavens, dabbled in magic.
Yeah.
And now it sounds like we're about to embark on a journey into the inner workings of, like, the human form.
I like the way you put that.
Thanks.
Let's dive into this final piece of the puzzle in part 3 of our exploration.
I'm ready when you are. Welcome back to our deep dive into the fascinating world of Al-Andalus and its role in transmitting knowledge to medieval Europe. It's been quite a journey so far, from astronomical instruments
It has been.
to the mysteries of magic and the intricacies of the cosmos.
Absolutely.
And we've seen how figures like King Alfonso X played a crucial role in shaping this transmission, driven by their own intellectual curiosity and desire to make knowledge accessible in these new ways.
They were quite the pioneers.
But before we wrap up, you mentioned that Alfonso's interests extended beyond the stars and the cosmos. Something about a text that delved into the secrets of the human body.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Now that piques my curiosity. What can you tell us about that?
Well, amidst all those texts on astronomy, astrology, and magic, Alfonso also commissioned the translation of a medical treatise.
Okay.
A rather significant one, actually. It was an anatomical work by the Persian polymath Avicenna.
Avicenna.
It was called the Canon of Medicine.
Avicenna, that name rings a bell.
Yeah.
Wasn't he a major figure in Islamic medicine?
Absolutely. Avicenna was like this towering intellect.
Yeah.
A physician, philosopher, and scientist.
Wow.
And his works had a profound impact on both the Islamic world and eventually Europe.
So what was so special about this canon of medicine?
Well, it covered a vast range of topics.
Like what?
We're talking anatomy, physiology, diseases, treatments, even the principles of surgery.
Wow, it sounds pretty comprehensive.
It was. And Avicenna drew on all sorts of sources.
Like what?
Greek, Roman, and Indian medical traditions.
Okay.
And he synthesized all of that with his own observations and clinical experience.
So it sounds like he was really trying to create this unified system of medical knowledge.
Exactly. Bringing together the best of what was known at the time.
And his approach was, like, systematic and detailed.
Oh, absolutely. For instance, in his anatomical descriptions, he went beyond simply listing organs.
Okay.
He described their location, their connections to other parts of the body, even their functions.
That sounds like he was really laying the groundwork for a more, like, modern understanding of anatomy.
Absolutely. Moving beyond the superficial observations of the past.
And his work wasn't just about, like, theoretical knowledge.
Right. He emphasized the importance of observation,
Yeah.
experimentation, and clinical practice.
So he wasn't just sitting in an ivory tower coming up with these ideas.
No, not at all. In fact, he was a big advocate
Yeah.
for testing the effectiveness of treatments before using them on patients.
That's a pretty revolutionary idea for his time.
It really was. He was ahead of his time in many ways.
And his influence, it didn't stop there, did it?
No, his influence on medical thinking went way beyond his lifetime.
Wow.
His works were translated into Latin.
Uh-huh.
And they actually became, like, core texts
Oh, wow.
in European medical schools,
That's amazing.
really shaping the way doctors were trained and practiced.
For generations to come.
Exactly.
It's amazing how this knowledge, like, flowed across cultures and centuries.
I know, right?
And ultimately contributed to the development of modern medicine as we know it today.
It all comes back to those key ingredients we talked about, right?
Yeah, the availability of texts, the skills of the translators, and the vision of patrons like Alfonso X.
Exactly. And it's this reminder that the story of Al-Andalus as this bridge of knowledge, it's about more than just a transfer of facts and figures.
Right.
It's about the exchange of ideas, the cross-fertilization of cultures, and this enduring human quest to understand the world around us.
And ourselves.
Exactly.
It's a story that challenges us to think beyond borders and boundaries.
I agree.
To recognize the interconnectedness of knowledge.
Absolutely.
And to appreciate the contributions of individuals from all these diverse backgrounds.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
As Samso reminds us, it's a story that encourages us to, reflect on the knowledge that we hold dear, to trace its origins, and to acknowledge the long and winding paths it took to reach us.
It's quite a journey.
It is. Yeah. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with this sense of awe and wonder.
I know what you mean.
Awe at the sheer scope of knowledge that was exchanged.
Yeah.
And the dedication of those who made it possible.
Right.
And wonder at how these ancient texts continue to speak to us today.
It's true, they do.
Reminding us of the enduring power of ideas and the interconnectedness of human history.
Beautifully put. And perhaps it leaves us with this final provocative thought. Yeah. If Al-Andalus served as a bridge between the Islamic world and Europe centuries ago, what bridges are we building today?
That's a good question.
What knowledge are we transmitting, and what are we overlooking? What new connections are waiting to be discovered?
Those are questions worth pondering.
They are.
And perhaps as we continue to explore and exchange ideas, we might find ourselves building new bridges.
I hope so.
Connecting us to a wider world of understanding and illuminating the paths to a richer, more interconnected future.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the fascinating world of Al-Andalus and its legacy.
Of course.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep building those bridges.
Until next time.